mental health. I can't tell you the professionalism and the amount of care that these two individuals, along with Malika Lee and the team, just exhibited with this individual. I did do a follow up, and that individual is doing better and getting the help that he needs. You just never know when you come upon somebody, even if you knock on the door, some of the challenges that you have. Um, you know, I was there going through that mental health first aid, really helped out because it allowed us to kind of pinpoint some telltale signs. And so I know we've had speakers that talk about mental health and the challenges that we all face, whether it be today or in our future. So we just want to make sure that we check on individuals, we see what those signs are, we actually follow up. And so I just wanted to say that as well. And let me just say this, our last power pop-up is happening in the Niagara district. Big shout out to the councilman, um, obviously to mayor as well. Um, they're going to be a part of it. And each and every one of you, what the block clubs are going to be out there as well. We're going to be focusing in that particular community and really just trying to provide services out in that respect too. Last thing I just want to say, when we talk about our clean sweeps and addressing concerns and issues, a lot of times we will look at our 311 and we'll see um, 311 complaints or other types of complaints. This is our opportunity to bring all city departments as opposed to just individually going there and collectively handling what those concerns are, and but just putting eyes on the street. So again, I just want to thank Mike and to the team for everybody here. We take this opportunity to introduce not just a friend, but a colleague who works in government. What a special um, topic or opportunity he has when we're talking about the issue of fair housing, which is very, very important. The rights that tenants have, but also the rights that landlords need to adhere by as well. There's a special relationship, and I call it a relationship. Some people call it a transactional relationship, which it is between the landlord and a tenant, but it is a relationship, and we want to make sure that we continue that relationship, by those both parties, making sure that things are right. And so there's rules that we have to adhere by. Sometimes those rules are bent and broken, sometimes consciously or not. Harold has a special way and a touch in terms of, but also being an informer as well. And it's important that we understand what those things are. And so I'm going to introduce Harold Cardwell, who is the Fair Housing officer, and he's also going to talk about his office. He's within the Buffalo Urban Renewal Agency, and he's also maybe will speak about compliance. Hey, Harold.
Good afternoon, folks. I am Harold Cardwell. I am, as you see, it says Nicole Brown, but as you can see, it's not her. We had some unique challenges this morning in regards to laptops not cooperating. So her and I got in touch with each other so that I can get down here to make sure I'm able to participate accordingly. First, I want to thank you guys, Oz and his department, in regards to allowing me the opportunity to disseminate the information that's available through the BURA office in regards to fair housing and what the rights are of landlords and tenants in respect to the fair housing laws from the federal level, the city level, and the state level, so that everyone is aware of these different circumstances. And as you know, those of us that are on the Clean Sweep partnership, we experience multitude of different circumstances of individuals who are dealing with different forms of fair housing. The fair housing law has changed at least 3 times in the last 24 months. And with the pandemic being in place, there are even more additional laws that have taken place in respect to the moratorium. And now the newest addition to the moratorium is now it's in effect until January of 2022. And this particular circumstances changes the process of how landlords can or cannot evict individuals. And some individuals, they still have to be removed due to additional circumstances, such as the bounty law, as well as health and safety reasons, which would in turn push through what is called an order to vacate due to those circumstances. but there are still laws in place that have to be followed completely. And that means the city of Buffalo, Erie County, New York State, and the federal government. So my office does all of those different levels throughout the city. And to help everyone understand what is available, we also have a website. It's the BURA website. And as you'll notice, it'll come up on your screen and it will take you directly to the website. If you go through two different aspects of it, I've always gone through Google, which helps the quickest way. We set it up, and I've been having this put together for about 6, 7 years now. And what it does is that it gives everyone a clear understanding of what's available, how to access it. It goes into 125 different languages. So there is pretty much hard for anyone to tell me that their language is not on there. Now, if it's not on there, I'm sure some form of dialect is on there. And if not, let me know. We'll work it out. And on that particular website, as you see in front of you, it also has the eviction prevention and the foreclosure prevention in regards to the ERAP program and the mortgage assistance program that has come through the COVID dollars that came from the government. In those circumstances, in each one of those PDFs that you see in front of you, it breaks it down into layman terms so that you are not seeing 15-letter words that still tell you, no, you can't do it. And what happens with that when it reaches my office, if there is a circumstance that is a possibility of discrimination in fair housing on a multitude of levels, then we have to launch an investigation. If that investigation shows that there is probable cause due to the laws of fair housing, then there is penalties such as financial restitution, as well as conciliation between the landlord and the tenant, and or it can move further and go into court, whereas that the owner can be financially penalized, monetarily with his property, and also paying out to the tenant, as well as removing their license to do business in the city of Buffalo. So it does have a multitude effect. And then you also have the state that will get involved in regards to the Department of Human Resources, which will look to see if their rights were violated in those circumstances also. So you have a multitude of areas, and it's a multi-pronged approach that we assist tenants and landlords in regards to helping them understand what can and cannot be done. And in my position, you hear more of, I'm supposed to be for the tenants. I actually am the one that's for the law. So we do help tenants out, but we also make sure that everybody's following the law. And that's the main issue, because a lot of tenants, they know parts of it, but there's a lot of landlords that know parts of it also. And the one thing I always tell landlords, if you at least know what the tenant's rights are and you are not violating their rights, then the likelihood of you having to run across my desk is very slim. Now, if you don't at least know the tenant's rights, then it's a probability we will end up talking at some point. And I try and help those individuals understand what is necessary in regards to making sure we can prevent those circumstances from happening. I know I said a lot, so there's a lot of information there. If you have any questions in the process of me giving all this information, please stop me and ask me. I'll be more than happy to respond. Okay? All right, if you'll scroll up. If you look on the website, go back to
I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Harold, quick question as you're going through some of this information in the webpage. You talked about conciliation.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit? Or I think people would see it's an enforcement aspect of it, but it sounds like you sit down with both parties, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, what a conciliation is that we bring in not only the landlord, but we also bring the tenant in, and sometimes we bring their lawyers in. And sometimes the court will even recommend that we have a conciliation meeting in order to get to a happy medium for both parties. And in a lot of cases, what we have found is that neither party knows what the laws are. So we give you an opportunity to sit down with me, come to a mutual understanding. There is still some penalty involved, but it's not as egregious as if you chose not to follow that pathway. And what that does is that'll say to the landlord, okay, if you do this, and also you take these classes in regards to understanding what the fair housing laws are in the city of Buffalo, New York State, and Erie County, then we will allow you to not be penalized in court, but you will have to pay this penalty and make sure that there's nothing else addressed to the tenant. Does that answer your
Okay.
question?
No, it does. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Also, I was asked a question prior in regards to rent to own. I don't recommend it on any level. The only person you should be renting to own with is with your bank. And that's when you have a mortgage. Because when it's all said and done, your bank still owns the property. You are making payments to make that out to be your home at some day without paying nothing but taxes. What we have found when there's a rent to own involved, usually the tenant loses. The tenant has put in their own money. They have put in everything they can to make it their home, and then they miss one rental payment and they lose all of the opportunity to own the property. And in most cases, the landlords are aware of it. And if there's a lawyer involved, they should probably recommend to you and encourage you to stay away from a rent to own. Any questions on the rent to own? Good to know. All right. So if you look into the tenant rights PDF on that website, if you would click on that for me. Yes.
And Harold, as you are going through and going to the next section, I also want you to spend a little bit of time. Obviously, you're out in the field and talking with folks. Like there's always like a top 5 or a top 10 of do's and don'ts, right? That you see either a landlord just should not be doing. I think not doing it, maliciously, but they make a mistake and they're like, or even some of the top 10 5 things you think a tenant should do and have, so that there is no ambiguity or there's no like you should have been doing this and you should have been doing that.
Okay. Number one, before you even hand over your money for a location, make sure you have everything in writing. Make sure there's 2 copies when it's presented, one for you, one for the landlord. The worst thing, one of the top things that we run into is individuals who are so exasperated to find somewhere to live, they don't follow the process to make sure they protected themselves and or their family. Because they're rushing, they're young, it's their first apartment, a friend of a friend told them to talk to this friend, and they haven't followed the process. And when you do that, you put yourself in a position that when you call me and you say, well, the man took my money and I still don't have keys to a location. And the first thing I ask is, did you have a rental agreement? Well, no. Well, do you know his name? I know his first name. Well, okay. But then they'll give me some name such as a Tony or Jimmy. I don't know where he lives. He said he works for the landlord. So at the first step of that, we're already in a disadvantage. The second thing we run into is circumstances that in regards to disrepairs to an apartment. If you start with disrepairs in an apartment, you're going to have disrepairs throughout the visitation of that apartment because you've already allowed the individual to null and void his contract to you at the beginning, which is you're supposed to be able to move into a safe and habitable residence. And that's what you're paying for. Also, tenants should never be paying for the water or user fee. That should be all inclusive with your rent. It shouldn't be, oh, I got the water bill this month, so now I got to charge you additional. Doesn't work that way. Especially those individuals that are any kind of governmental assistance. That documentation states at the beginning of your landlord and tenant agreement that you submit to rental assistance, Belmont, or any of those governmental circumstances that make you fill out a landlord statement. That circumstance should be already in writing. The last one we have is individuals who find out that their rent is being increased during the time period of their tenancy. If you have a month to month, it can occur. If you are on a lease, it cannot occur. It only gets increased at the end of your lease agreement and each time you renew it. And it doesn't mean you have to take it. It just means that they can request it. You can always negotiate with your leasing agent in regards to, if I pay this amount, then I need all of these things done. And you always make sure that it's in documentation. If it's not in writing, it did not exist. Because when you get into court, it becomes a he said, she said. And by not having it in writing, it puts you at a disadvantage in respect to fighting your case. Oz, was there any of them that I missed? All right. So I want you guys to take a look at the screen in regards to the tenant's rights and responsibility that's up. Hopefully everybody can see it. This particular booklet was put together by entities years ago, but we wanted to make sure it was accessible to everyone in electronic format. If you have a cell phone, iPad, or anything, you should be able to access this website. What this booklet does is it gives you step-by-step instructions on what you should have, everything from going to finding an apartment all the way to going to small claims court at the end of the circumstance due to issues regarding that apartment. This apartment talks about apartment hunting, what the condition of your apartment should be in, security deposits, understanding all of these different entities that should help every individual before they go and take on an apartment. And unfortunately, most individuals don't do it. And these laws help everybody across the board. It talks about withholding your rent due to bad conditions. What are bad conditions? Disrepairs such as ceilings, faucets, toilets, bathrooms that are not working functionally, sewage in the basement. In the same respect, it's your responsibility as a tenant to make sure you maintain the property as you received it, so that you do have documentation showing that you have not damaged the property as some landlords like to say that they were. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, there are two things that are in this booklet that I need to address. Number one is the 72-hour notice and money judgments. That item has been changed. June 14, 2019, New York State implemented the New York State Tenant Protection Act that removed the opportunity from landlords to say you have 72 hours to either pay or remove yourself from the premises. Now that is only done in writing. 14 days is what they can do. And that cannot still remove you from the premises. They would still have to take you to court in order to file for an eviction due to non-payment. And if you do make the payment within 30 days during that month, then that whole case gets removed once you get to court and they have to start all over again. Okay. And the other one was in regards to retaliation. It is your right as a tenant to request an inspector at your location due to bad conditions, and the landlord can do nothing about it. All he can do is accept the information. If there's a list of violations on that premises, then he just has to accept it from the City of Buffalo's inspection department, correct those issues. And whether that tenant is there or another tenant is coming after the fact, the list of violations still stands. That case stays open until such time that landlord corrects the issue. Okay? All right, we can move on. Yes. Okay. On this particular website, you will see that you have the Erie County resources in regards to the new law that came out March of 2018. Erie County decided to also implement fair housing laws. The City of Buffalo's have been in place since 2006, and then also New York State made theirs in 2019 to address some of the issues that were going on in New York City. It is against the law for landlords to coerce, intimidate, shut off power, water, electric, or any of those things, or pay an individual to remove themselves from the premises of any said location that they have an agreement to live in. if those circumstances do occur, it's a Class A misdemeanor, and the landlord can be arrested for those circumstances. Now, I know I gave you a lot of legal jargon involved in that, but that's because we are in an unprecedented time, and the circumstances have become very unique in regards to individuals' behaviors. And I am thankful that the government put in the COVID dollars to help assist not only owners, but also tenants in regards to the mortgage relief and also repairs to homes, and also tenants in regards to making the back payments up to 15 months in regards to the pandemic circumstances. Are there any questions so far? Okay. I want you to ask them why I'm here, because I'm not promising I'm going to remember everything at the end. I have to stay on this as well as everybody else, because there's always something changing. Just in case you haven't noticed, there has been a moratorium extension until 2022 from Governor Hochul. But also in that moratorium extension, there are some new caveats in regards to landlords can, what's the word I'm looking for? They can dispute the hardship of a tenant. Even though a tenant says that they have a hardship regarding the pandemic, now they must show proof of it. Whereas before, they were just able to submit the documentation, self-certified, and keep moving. Whereas now landlords can actually contest it. That's the word I was looking for. They contest the circumstances regarding their hardship circumstances. Okay. And as you see, there's my contact information. You can reach me right at my office. My phone number here at City Hall is 716-851-4212. You see my email address and the actual website to get to the BURA page. And also you will see a host of languages. Like I said, it goes into 125. And as you see at the end of that, you will see also the links to New York State and Erie County. Now that's the short version of all the legal things. Now there's one other piece I want to make sure those of you that are owners, it's up under Article 265 of the Building Codes and Inspections. There is a law in regards to landlords owning more than 4 properties in the city of Buffalo. If you own more than 4 properties in the city of Buffalo, you must make sure you are a licensed company and or have a licensed property management company handling your properties. If you live outside the city of Buffalo, you have no leeway. You must have a licensed property management company handling your property. If you do not, you are in jeopardy of losing your license to do business in the city of Buffalo, losing your rental registration and or your license here in the city of Buffalo, and penalized through the Fair Housing Office also. Okay, that covers 90% of the circumstances. I see a lot of questions that are coming up. So I'm more than happy to take them and see where I can answer. Let's see here. I understand that. Let's see here. The rent relief program, you can contact 211, and the link for BURA. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can go, I believe it was buffalorenewal.com. Also, you can also go to Google and type in BURA Buffalo, and it'll come up, and it'll show on your phone or any screen that you have, it'll show Buffalo Urban Renewal Agency. You just click on the website icon, and it'll take you right to that website. Well, most laws you would hope to put a lot of things in place, but just like we have laws in regards to criminals, we can't guarantee it's going to cut down on the slumlord situation. But the other part of that is that we only can handle the misbehaving of landlords if we are notified. If we are not notified, we can't exactly handle those circumstances. And someone asked if I could talk about the new interior inspection program in respect to what?
It's the program that Hunter is working with. We're working our division along with Department of Inspections is working
Yes.
with
Okay.
interior inspections, and so it's proactive rental engagement.
Yes.
Um, um, Inspectors have been doing this, but we have partnered with community-based agencies so that we can have different types of offerings and be more proactive instead of in that
Reactive.
this
Right.
offering though instead of reactive. And so we have two target neighborhoods that we've been working in. We hope to expand this program to all through the city of Buffalo. Anna Falikoff, who is with the city law department,
Right.
our department, Harold's department, as well as the building inspectors, just building off the backbone of that particular engagement, which is a unique engagement that inspector has with a landlord and also with the residents. And so we want to make sure that we go inside and do interior inspections. Very much some of the things that Harold talked about. Harold, I don't know if you want to add on to that.
Yes, that also is included with the lead program that they have in place. That they are making sure that number one, Buffalo has the oldest housing stock, one of the oldest housing stocks in the country. And since everybody has lead, there used to be lead programs that we used to call lead removal and abatement. Now they use it as lead remediation. And what that does is that eliminates the opportunity for lead to um, become a hazardous circumstance. So that would be windows, painting, and things of that nature. Because we have such an old stock. When we were looking into the actual lead abatement, it was causing an excess of $18,000 to $20,000 to do that same service. Whereas that to remediate it, it's almost cut in half. So there are other processes that can be done to eliminate those circumstances and make it a safer and habitable location for individuals
So I
living
would
in those
add, if somebody
premises.
wants to take advantage of that particular initiative, we've been going door to door. Building inspectors have been going out on weekends. They've been doing focus kind of mini clean sweeps or blitzes. I love when folks want to imitate the work that we do, and our building inspectors have done that. Um, and so for those who are out, if you know of somebody who wants an interior inspection, have them call 311. And our operators will walk them through that process and will schedule an interior inspection along with other things that they can do. So hopefully that answered that question. And if you have any more questions, you can have them call 311 and they can walk you through that process. I think there was another question, Harold.
I'm looking now. Also, I want to make sure everybody understand, those of you that are realtors, I want you to also understand that the fair housing law applies to you also. And what has happened over the last several months and over the last several years, we had been putting out information to realtors in regards to making sure that you were in compliance with the federal law, city law, and county law. Federal law, Article 109.30, City of Buffalo Law, Article 127-15, in regards to your advertisement and signage. That means if you are not in compliance with those items, it can cost you $1,500 per violation. So it has now been initiated, and it has been initiated since 2006 in the city of Buffalo, and it also has been in place since 1968 of the federal law. Now there is no more warnings. Now there is penalty. So we request that everyone follow that guideline. There is no more warnings. The warning went out again in documentation format from BNAR and NISAR on September 24th, that in 2020, that information went out. but you guys have been
Harold, now
deemed noted.
you know I'm gonna ask you when you use these acronyms, BNNRC, all that. What
I'm
does that
sorry,
mean?
but my apologies. Buffalo Niagara Area Realtors, as well as New York State. It's New York State and Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors.
Good.
They are in full compliance and agreement in regards to following the laws regarding fair housing. And they sent the documentation out to all of their members, which is approximately 3,500 members. There may be more, but because I'm not a part of that entity, I don't know the exact numbers. But I have met with them to date. Right now, there has been a total of $27,000 initiated in fines in regards to individuals not complying to the laws regarding fair housing.
Good. Listen, Harold, a lot of great information. Um, you know, if you can have someone put in the chat ways that folks can get a hold of you, they want to have more direct questions. No, it's a lot of regulations and rules, but at the end of the day, it's human touch. And I'm reminded to be talk to people and walk them through this process. I can't say enough to say thank you for coming on and giving us the lay of the land when it comes to fair housing. And Buffalo has a strong history when it comes to fair housing agencies. In fact, one of my first jobs, and I was on social media, and I know they were posting for this job. And, you know, I could tell a little secret. One of my first jobs that I had coming right out of college, I thought it was a job, but it was kind of part-time, was being a fair housing um, investigator. I thought, what a fancy title, you know. I worked for Home, Housing Opportunities Made Equal,
Mm-hmm.
and I got an opportunity to understand a little more about the issue of fair housing. And I was a fair housing tester or investigator, and I would go in and not pose, but and unfortunately, there were people who felt susceptible to not providing the necessary things that you talked about, you know. But you know, at the end of the day, the fair housing, being a fair housing investigator, was the launch of me doing what I'm doing right now. So can't say enough. So thank you very much, Harold.
Hey, I thank you for the opportunity anytime. And if you do need to reach out to me, the information has been put up on the chat line in regards to it. Most of you see me out in the field. And remember, I'm responsible for the whole city. So there is no particular area I don't reach out to. I see Miss Debbie over there laughing at this point because she sees me all over the city. And I have no problems with speaking at different individual engagements in regards to giving instructions regarding fair housing and making sure you have the proper information to do so. Again, I thank you
Thanks,
for the
Harold.
opportunity.
Hey, I'm going to bring up our partner. You know, I almost said our partner in crime, but you know, our partner in faith and service, Debbie. Debbie, thank you for shouting out. We're doing our SEPTEP, our crime prevention through environmental design workshops. I see Ron Dixon, who's the coordinator of that particular initiative, been working with you, um, providing that. Debbie is a facilitator. She's been through the program. We're going to be calling on her and those people who are out there. Our idea here was just kind of to whet the appetite, get people to start thinking with SEPTEP principles in mind. And so we're excited about that. This is the launch of just the beginning. Then we're going to go into talking about some more advanced techniques for residents, for landlords, for businesses, for individuals who want to understand a little more about crime prevention through the built environment. So again, thank you. Ron, he's anyone who wants to access Ron can contact him directly or call 311 and they'll put you in contact with him, you know, too. So, hey, Debbie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm
Nice
doing
to see
okay.
you again. I see some of my team members around here. So last night, Border Block Clubs had a meeting and it went very well. We did talk about SEPTED and we passed out flyers to those that were there. And we've had some inquiries. So hopefully some of those applications will get over to your department and we can get them set up and ready to go. Border Block Clubs has done a lot this past season. We've attended many events. We have a few more to go. I will be at the Fillmore one tomorrow at Canal Side. We've got a few engagements coming up at some of the schools. So things are looking really good. Last night's meeting was great. We had a lot of information. Oz provided some great information as well to the members that were there. Our next meeting will be October 28th. We're just waiting on a spot. Miss Linda's working on a spot as we speak. As you can see, her hand is up. And but things are going really good. We already have 2 speakers lined up for next month, possibly 3. And moving forward, that's how we're going to do it. We want to bring as much information to all the residents as we can. Oz, I do have to touch base with you because a question came up after the meeting and I couldn't answer it and you had already left. So I will email you that information if you can just give me an answer and I can contact that block club member. But other than that, things are going great. It is a little chilly today, but it's a good thing. It kind of makes you breathe a little differently. And that's it. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I will be there at the clean sweep. I'm sorry I missed this past week, but got that second shot and it just did not like me too well. So, other than that, that's it from the Board of Block Clubs. We're moving along. Please like our Facebook page. We have so much going on. There's just too much to talk about, but we do have a lot going on. So look at our Facebook page and our social media. And I did put our information in the chat if anybody needed anything. And if you have any suggestions for the Board of Block Clubs on speakers, please forward it to us because this way we can get them lined up because we're already starting our 2022 season. So let us know. And thank you for the opportunity giving us this space every week. It's been a joy and I've learned a lot and so has my team. And it's nice to see people I haven't seen in a while, especially Joanne Kearns. I don't get to see her that often anymore. So Harold, as always, it's a pleasure hanging with you on Wednesdays, but I learn so much more every time you speak and you bring so much to the table and have helped so many people. So for that, I'm thankful. And I do need some extra books Wednesday. If you get a chance, I have some people that I need to reach out to. And so if you remember, will you bring me some on Wednesday?
Well, thank you, Debbie. Listen, feeling is mutual. Gotcha. It's one of the questions is where's the money? I got you. Don't worry. You know? But no, we'll
Listen,
follow
at least I haven't left a note on your car at City Hall, so that's a good thing.
Listen, thank you very much, all, and we'll see you. Giving you back 5 minutes of the meeting, and we'll talk 5 minutes of your day back. You know, use it wisely. I want to thank my staff. Can't do any of this without them, and really thank the workers who take it another level in terms of civil servants who make a difference with us. We'll see you at our clean sweep, but we'll see you at our next block chat. Take care, guys.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and well.
Debbie, before you run away,
Debbie? Oh, oops.
Yeah,
Oh,
just lost her.
okay, thanks. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.
Good
You do the
seeing you,
same.
Linda.
All right, bye-bye.
Linda, my jacket smelled so better when I put it back on. Oh, that you got it. You got on. Okay.